Why are we losing so much money on group projects? Yet some people seem to be doing so well, pulling money together and investing in Kenya. Now, this is the $1 million question bedeviling Kenyans in Kenya and other peers living in diaspora, especially when it comes to group investment in Kenya. Now, I'm not very well educated about group investment at home, though I have a little bit of personal experience. Most of it is not so good. So in today's video, I'm going to focus more on group investment from Kenyans living outside Kenya. I've done a few projects with groups in Kenya and it's not turned out well. But again, my knowledge on that is very limited. So I'll focus on diaspora part for today. But before we do that, friends, welcome to Karating, a village in Western Kenya, in Kisumu. This is our home, a place that we really enjoy, and we are all welcome to come check us out. It's a wonderful afternoon. And so I want you to join me this bright sunny afternoon. I'll be walking around, just doing my routine walkthrough, picking up fruits. And by the way, there's always something in season in Karating, whether you're talking about avocados, you're talking about pawpaws, mangoes. There's always some fruit that is in season. And usually almost every day, I have to walk around and pick up something. And so join me as I walk around, pick up stuff, and I'll be setting up our favorite chill spot and things like that. So welcome to Karating. I am a Kenyan American. If you're new to our channel, I'm a Kenyan American who is doing everything possible to return permanently to our home right here. And I help folks do the same. Many diasporans want to come back, and I share my stories, and I work with many other folks who are constructing their homes, buying land, and things like that. So if you need help with that, reach out to us on the number that I post there. My job basically is to listen to your story, connect you with the right experts, offer advice, and possibly supervise where needed. So feel free to reach out to us in the number that I posted earlier in the channel. So anyway, back to our topic of the day. Kenyans living in diaspora are integral to the country's economic landscape, contributing significantly to the nation's growth and development. And a lot of this comes through remittances, investments, and some of the skills and knowledge that we share whenever we're back home working with different professionals. And I believe we play a pivotal role in achieving some of the visions that may involve Kenya becoming globally competitive and just generally a wonderful place to live in. In fact, as of now, I believe Kenyans' remittances alone have far surpassed the country's income from tourism and export. I think that's huge. So the overwhelming majority of those of us who live in diaspora I tend to do individual projects. I told you that we've got tons of fruits here and there. There's always something in season. So many of us tend to invest individually, not as groups, at least within the circles that I'm familiar with. And a lot of us invest in construction, where we build our own homes or we build rental properties. We invest in agribusiness, treasury, infrastructure bonds. We also participate in money market, insurance, and so many other avenues that allow us to generate money within Kenya. If you have any other that I missed, feel free to share in the comment section. However, most of this money is directed towards generating some kind of additional income streams that can help primarily with about four things. The first thing is that we hope that these investments will help us with long-term needs, because really very few people that I know that live in diaspora want to retire in diaspora. And certainly nobody in Kenya living outside Kenya wants to come back in the form of a cargo. So a lot of this we do so that hopefully years to come, we should be able to make money while living in Kenya. Then these income streams that we tend to establish at home are supposed to help us at least do more, bring in just extra source of income. Because again, it's obvious that the more money you bring in, the more you're able to do for yourself and for others. And most importantly, with different streams of income, you're able to spread your risks. So many diasporans spend tons of money to do just that. And then, of course, the money that we send home for investment also help us address recurrent expenditures, because the majority of us living in diaspora tend to take care of our parents. We pay our own bills. Like when I'm back in Long Beach, I have to make sure my home is maintained. I've got people that are employed. There's issues of medication, fees that I'm paying. So there are these recurrent bills that the majority of us have. And so when we have something that generates money at home, those things can actually help us pay those things. So I don't have to use my money that I made from diaspora to take care of expenses in Kenya. And then a lot of this investment come because we see opportunities at home, and we invest in those opportunities. There's certain things that I would more easily do at home than I would in California. Like, I've never thought about doing agribusiness in California, yet it's very easy for me to do agribusiness in Kenya. And I'm not saying it's impossible to do in California. There's lots of agribusiness going on in California, but it would not be the first place I'd be thinking about. So in general, that is where majority of us are in terms of where we want to invest in and some of the goals we have with our investment. And so while these individual projects help, the reality is there's only so much you can do as an individual, especially for those of us who are employed. There's really no doubt that under the right conditions, we can do a whole lot more when we pull resources together. And a majority of my friends always talk about how can we pull resources together to do things. And over the last 2 decades I've been in America, I've seen thousands, probably even hundreds of these groups that come together, they pull resources, and the overwhelming majority of them end up failing, with perhaps a few exceptions. In fact, perhaps none more so than the Kenyan Somali groups. This is one of the many groups that I know have done so well pulling resources and doing much bigger projects. In fact, I hope in the next maybe year or so, I'd be able to even just sit down and talk to our Somali cousins to learn about how those systems work for them. Because a lot of us looking at Somalis from outside basically speculate as to why they are successful. We think it's because they have high levels of trust, they are disciplined, they have serious commitment to group outcomes. And so they have like less individualism. This Mimi thing perhaps is less, and we assume they probably keep bad manners to a minimum. But I don't know for sure. This is all speculation. So I'm hoping to interview one of them in the future just to learn how those systems work. But remember, just because you have a system that works within the Somali community, it doesn't mean you can simply copy and paste in other spaces. It doesn't work like that. Because in many of our communities, you could try the same things. Next thing you know, money has been collected, people are very passionate, and then imegulwa, which often discourages people from getting into all these group things. In fact, I think there's probably only one exception, which is a benevolence group. Over the years, we've had problems with those, but I think for the most part, we've figured out how to make it work. We are currently very good at responding to funerals, sending people home, or supporting people who have experienced a loss. Everything else, it's very hard to come by some kind of group investment by diasporans where things don't fall apart and money is not lost. So here's some of the challenges that I hear most frequently. Number one, in many of our spaces, there's just too much greed on the part of the people who lose money and the people who steal money. Because again, with the people who lose money, I see crooked folks coming in and pitching things that are wildly impossible. Like, put in some money, you are going to get 100% interest, no risk, and things like that. And then because we are thinking with our greed, we jump in and then we lose money. Then a lot of us have ego issues. Some of us have serious indiscipline problem. And then, of course, the me world, where we are almost always focused on us first, really makes it difficult for us to succeed. A lot of us have leadership problems. Because as I've always said, not everybody walking upright and speaks English of the nose should be a leader or can lead. Leadership requires very particular skills that not everybody walking around should be assigned a leadership role. In fact, some of the loudest people that often assume leadership roles are often the poorest when it comes to knowing how to skillfully work with people. And then again, some of the folks we have assigned duties in this group projects are not often skilled. Like, I've seen people who have very terrible financial management skills. They can handle their own finances. and then we entrust them with our own money. That really becomes a problem. And so beyond that, there are many other problems where Kenyans in diaspora invest in things they don't fully understand at home. For example, if you are going to invest in anything to do with tenders or government or tax and all that, make sure you are willing and ready to sink neck deep into the Kenyan cesspool of official corruption. If you cannot do that, stay away from things like tenders. People in diaspora don't understand that system very well. All they see is the money that they can potentially get. And then they show up and then they get wiped out. So I say sometimes we make mistakes because we don't do the work and we don't really understand how those systems work. And then we end up using people who are not qualified to handle our money. So in general, this is one area where I'm still learning. I don't know a whole lot, but here are some suggestions that I'll offer. Number one, for now, minimize your group involvement with some of these things. Sometimes it's not worth it. And then be open to running an individual project that may have a group component. But remember, the group side of it should be so small as to when it fails, it shouldn't really destroy what you're doing. So for example, we can have 3 people all running schools, but each person runs their own school. But when they're going to do like a purchase, then they can pool together and bargain for a lower cost for purchasing whatever they're buying. So individual projects with a group component, but the group component should be really small. Remember, don't ever jump headfirst, because there is no substitute for proper homework. Don't expect people to go do the dirty work for you and then you sit back and earn the benefits. It does not work like that. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this topic, and I guess we will end it at this point for today. Thank you, and I will see you in the next. Bye.